It's Bruce Hill, New Skills, New You. And the question you're not asking is costing you money. All right. The question you're not asking is costing you money. And what I realized as I asked myself the question, like, how can I add the most value to the most people? And so we've got marketing strategies, right? That's pretty familiar to people. Social media strategy, that's pretty, even tax strategy, right? For business owners. How can we reduce our tax liability? But very rarely do I hear anyone talk about a sales strategy. I hear about sales training, right? Closing the deal, prospecting, LinkedIn outreach, but very rarely do I hear about a sales strategy. So I'm going to give you four simple questions to ask to help you build a sales strategy. And that means, let's define it. First of all, sales strategy is a plan of action to consistently generate revenue. Right? A sales strategy is a plan of action to consistently generate revenue. That's a sales strategy. And what I really love about a good sales strategy is you don't have to sit around waiting for the phone to ring. You don't have to sit around waiting for referrals. Referrals should be bonuses. They should be extra. They shouldn't be the minimum. And I believe, actually, I know because this was my business, this was my life. The reason I was struggling to grow the business is because the revenue was inconsistent, right? I was waiting for the referrals, which are great. Referrals are the least expensive lead source that close at the highest percentage. Referrals are fantastic, but you can't scale a business on referrals. Now, you're like, well, Bruce, what about an affiliate program? That's a strategy. That means I am growing my business on purpose, right? I'm deliberately taking consistent action to generate revenue. Love a good affiliate strategy. However, can you write it down? If you're like, yeah, I have a sales strategy, can you write it down? So my second question is, where is it written down? And then my next question will be, are you able to teach it to someone else? That's really where we have a good sales strategy is where I can write it down, I can document the steps, and I can give it to someone else. And that's where we start to scale. That's where we say, hey, if I do these actions, right, I do these 10 actions, I get one deal. Well, then logically, if I can do 20 of these actions, I get two deals. And that's where we really are to say, hey, instead of anticipating income or hoping for income, we can create income. We figure out the ratio. Hey, if I add this much value to this many of the right people, this is the revenue result. This is almost predictable. So, one of my favorite memories when I became a sales professional, I called my buddy up. I was like, man, I've been working in banking and I'm getting good at it, but the harder I work, my check stays the same. And so people that aren't as good as I am, they end up getting the same check as I do. And that was a little frustrating. So I said, what do I do? And actually, he's actually calling me right now. Love it. I called my best friend up and I said, what can I do differently to get different results? I had enough wisdom to ask that question. And I think better questions get better answers. And he said, well, he was like, Bruce, you got to sell. So here's because to him, the only way that you could make more money is by tying your results directly to your effort. And that's not a bad way to do it. It's not the best way to do it, but let's circle back to that. So he was like, well, sales, if you sell more, you earn more. So you have uncapped earning potential. I like the way that sounds. And what's always fun about this story, if he had sold houses, I might be a realtor today, right? If he had sold insurance, I might be an insurance broker today. But if he had sold drugs, I might be dead or in jail. Thankfully, he sold cars. So guess what he told me to do? He told me to sell cars. And there's a lesson in there, right? Be careful who you take advice from because they're going to give you advice based on their life and their life experiences. And if you take their advice long enough, you're going to end up with their life. It's inevitable. It's once going to happen. So I found a good company, integrity. They took care of their people. They took care of their customers. And I was doing okay. I started off really well. While I was waiting for my interview, someone came in. He was like, I need help now. And I'm like, bro, I don't even work here yet. I'm dressed for an interview, so I guess I look professional. And my hair was a little short today too. And so I go out to the car lot with him, and he's looking around, and I didn't know what to say. And I stumbled across this. This is an accident. I can't claim any level of genius here. I just asked him questions. I was like, well, what do you look for? And he was like, yeah, I need this. And I was like, well, how much are you willing to spend? Right? And he was like, oh, my budget's between here and there. I was like, okay, well, how soon do you want to make this happen? He's like, I need this to happen today. I said, well, why the urgency? Why the rush? And he's like, well, this happened, and then I got to do this next week, so it's got to be today. And I just kept asking questions because didn't know what to tell him. I knew nothing about selling and less about selling cars. And so I really want you to understand this. Shout out to my introverts. You don't have to be a sales superstar. You don't have to be the master manipulator. You don't have to be the killer closer. In order to increase your revenue, you have to learn to ask the right questions. You're going to ask the right questions internally, right? Inside of your business, that honest reflection. And then you're going to ask questions to the clients, to the potential clients. And this is where we start to build a sales strategy that consistently generates revenue without expensive software or complicated sales methodologies. It's really just down to asking better questions. And so what happens, I asked enough questions. I guess I accidentally asked the right ones. So I had the right person at the right time and asked the right questions. And he ended up purchasing the car. Now, I wasn't licensed to sell cars in the state. I wasn't employed, so I didn't get commission on that. But we always joke that my first sale happened before I even got an offer letter. And what was fascinating is as soon as I got hired, I immediately stopped doing it. Immediately stopped asking questions, gone through the training, thought I knew a little bit and would do all the talking. And this is where I believe introverts are better at sales than extroverts because they're naturally better at listening. And so what you have to understand, quick sidebar, the only difference between extroverts and introverts is how they recharge. Introverts recharge alone. In some cases, it can be a place where they have intimate relationships, right? I'm talking about those close family ties or close friends, not necessarily romantic, where they feel safe, they could be their authentic selves. But most of the time, it's alone. Extroverts recharge with people. Everything else after that can be the same. So I've met extroverts with social anxiety. They cannot talk to people without physically becoming sick. So, okay, so being an extrovert isn't the magic sauce to being successful. And then I've met introverts that are phenomenal speakers. But after that talk, don't bother them. There's no one-on-one, there's no book signing, there's no meet and greet. You gotta go back to the room, their hotel room and recharge. So I don't want you to use being introverted as being an excuse. And extroverts, I need you to be careful you don't end up like me and do more talking than you did asking questions. And so here's what I want to teach you about building a sales strategy. You want to ask yourself, who are the right people? The right people in my company, and then the right clients for our company. What problem do you solve? Once I realized I didn't sell cars, I helped people have reliable, affordable transportation to where they needed to go. Right? I need to go to work. I need to get my kids from school. And the vehicle is literally the method, the mode of transportation, in this case, a figurative and literal sense of how we accomplish that. So what vehicle are we providing to people to reach their goals? So get away from the problem and towards the promise. Then the process, this is where I ended up being successful in this role, not because I was really good at sales, but because they had a really good process. And once I stopped being so smart and knowing everything and just follow the process, I ended up very successful. At one point, I was top 100 nationwide in that company. Not because, again, I'm so special that I could magically achieve it. No, there was a process, and that's what you need for your business. You don't have to be anyone other than who you are right now, but you need a process. And then last but not least is pricing. Well, so with this company, the pricing was very simple. And I brought that into my businesses and how I train. Keep your pricing simple. So your question for pricing is, how can I make this so easy of a decision that they want to take action? Simple to understand is simple to execute. So now you've got a really simple framework on why The questions we're not asking are costing us money.